Thank you, Ellen. Hi, everyone. My name is Belinda Zhou. Very happy to be here today. And I want to help you demystify some of the terms if you're in crypto. I think it can be very intimidating when you just start it. And I know a lot of you probably just enter the space and wondering what's possible in this space and how to really get to know what's going on and everything. So hopefully my sharing will be helpful and inspire you to look into what's possible. So before I start, I will just quickly use a slide to introduce what I do. Maybe next slide. So essentially what I do, Shane just mentioned that he received like investment from investors funds that he's never met in person. So I basically allocate capital via the internet to the early stage founders who I believe have the potential to contribute to a more decentralized future. And how I started this journey. So I started crypto back in 2017. I was a trainee, sort of a consultant role for the Dubai government in terms of their marketing. Interesting enough, it's in the Dubai tourism. And I got to know a lot of crypto projects back in Dubai in 2017 because they were doing a lot of roadshows. So I was helping them with PR and marketing efforts. So non-technical people can be also very helpful in crypto. And naturally, they sent me crypto. I was reading a lot of white paper. I was testing a lot of the products, etc. So you really get to know what's going on. And after my training program with the government, Halas finished, I become a full-time CMO and occasionally angel investing because when you really get to know how they do marketing, how they do product, then you have an easier time identifying what are the good projects out there and what are the solid ones. So I gradually allocated here and there into the project that I was very confident about, and luckily my angel investment did relatively well. So for the past 2 years, I've been operating this fund, Sharding Capital, out of Dubai, which is sort of a rising crypto capital at the moment, and also investing along with a couple of DAOs. DAOs stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. So basically, it's a group of people with similar intent gather together and do things like voting, making decisions, etc. You guys can also form a DAO, right? The Halal Blockchain Society essentially is also like a small DAO. And I think it will be a future form of companies. So this is how I started my crypto journey. And before I start sharing the trends, I just want to quickly share some definition of the terms you hear all the time. I understand, you'll probably hear all this repeatedly from talks, like on stage, from conversing with people, etc. But I think reading about their definition definitely helps a lot in the beginning, because then whatever you come across later on kind of validates what the concept is about. So Web3 basically, it is decentralized, a function of blockchain technology in an open-based web format. So this is Web3, and to better understand Web3, you need to understand what is Web 1 and Web 2. So Web 1 is basically like a portal. It's like a newspaper. It's read-only. You can read, but you cannot do anything about it. You're more like a reader in Web 1. And in Web 2, you can read, write, and share. So for example, when you use Facebook, when you use Instagram, you can share your posts, and then you're more of a content generator role. And then in Web 3, you can read, write, and own the data. So whatever you have, the data, the assets, it's owned by you. No one can tamper with what you have in your wallet, in your own accounts, etc. So that's essentially Web3. And then DeFi, you also probably hear it a lot. So it stands for Decentralized Finance. It's basically any financial instruments offered on chain without any middleman. So for example, banks, it is centralized finance because they control your money. Like whatever they show on your mobile banking, it is just number. It's not actual money there. But in DeFi, you have your own wallet, and the Ethereum or the USDT that's shown there, it's yours. No one can tamper with it. Yeah. I also want to share some keywords. Next slide, please. Share some keywords about the Web3 space that essentially motivates us to keep being like intellectually curious about space and also very optimistic about space. So like what I mentioned, self-sovereignty of personal data and property assets. That's key thing. And open, borderless, permissionless innovation. I can receive Ethereum, I can receive USDT instantly, but if you do international bank transfer, etc., it requires processing hours, it requires a lot of documents, it requires permission from like banks, etc. So it's just very cumbersome. But like yeah, it's very convenient, and they involve heavily community creators, and it's 24/7. It's global movement, and that one exciting thing about the space is that it's moving really fast. So it actually inspires you to also learn as fast as possible and digest as fast as possible, and then externalize it in a very like a explicit manner. So it really helps you with your learning journey. Yeah. So very quickly, I will share a list of the trends currently going on in the crypto space. Next slide. Don't get scared if you don't understand anything that's on the slide. So feel free to take a photo, and then when you go back, research every single term I have here, and really read the definition like the way I showed you just now. Then you'll be able to comprehend at least a little bit, and then get to know more about it like in the next few weeks or months. So then you'll be really comfortable with all these terminologies. So I personally, because I have been doing investing for a few years, like my framework is it's very personal, but what I basically identify is like three sectors that three areas that I currently look into and see what can potentially be done there. For example, in the finance world, basically the key is anything that can help you enhance capital efficiency. So now we have LSD5, basically stands for liquid staking derivatives. And then we have LP5, like LP liquidity providers, derivatives finance, and things like real yield and liquid risk-stake tokens. And then we have a broader level, we have on-chain RWAs, which stands for real-world asset tokenization and stablecoins. And stablecoin essentially, it is RWA. It's basically US dollars or any country currency that you put on-chain. Yeah, maybe next slide, because I will dive a little bit into what's the DeFi. So here's the journey for DeFi. Like back in I would say 2018, 2019, there was a DeFi summer. So that's basically DeFi 1.0. The main form of it is the project or protocol itself issue their own protocol token. For example, I run a project, say I have a sushi swap, then I launch a project called sushi. I launch a project token called sushi, and I reward people who interact with the protocol. That's a lot of projects are like that back in the days, and still like a big percentage of the project are still in the phase of DeFi 1.0. But in my opinion, the biggest issue is that because you keep issuing the token, it's like a nation, right? And if you keep issuing your national currency, obviously the value gets diluted. So the price of the token might go down, and then people's confidence on the protocol might get swayed, influenced. So it will affect the sustainability of the project. which you still see a lot of projects doing something like this. And if you understand the journey, then we'll be able to categorize later on when you see a project, hey, that's still in DeFi 1.0 phase. And then DeFi 2.0, the main form is like, basically they add, it's like a DeFi Lego. They add more on top of what's basic use. So for example, if you look at treasury bonds, T-bills, they are they probably give you 5% every year. That's a basic use. So now they'll give use for stable coins or quality assets like Ethereum, like that level, that range of yields. And then what you can do is you can basically add the more incentives on top of that and make it maybe 15%, 20%, etc. So it's like a DeFi Lego you add on top of each other, which really enhance capital efficiency. It's sort of a little bit like leverage, but on the safer side. The challenge is that it will involve multiple contract interaction. So potentially if get like there's more vulnerability here because potentially one contract get hacked and then your assets will be affected. And currently, DeFi or crypto space, they have relatively limited liquidity. So now it's still PvP, as in peer versus peer. But DeFi 3.0, the main form, like what we mentioned, is stablecoin. It's real world asset on chain. It's US dollars. It's commodities. It can be fossil fuels. It can be carbon credit, etc. So that really usher in a lot of potential new liquidity to the space. So of course, there are also issues that could potentially arise. For example, how do you verify it? How do you if you put the mortgage like the housing, the property on chain, if you put the artwork on chain, how do I know it's actually there, or how do I know it's a real Picasso, etc. So there's also challenges there, but definitely it's how the industry is been moving forward. Yeah, so that's on the finance side. If you're really like keen to explore this area, I think there's some areas we can look into. And then personally, I really also like projects that help make the experience help with user experience, because using crypto product is very hard. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys have used a crypto wallet before, but if you need to use a crypto wallet, you need to create a wallet, and then you remember the private key or the seed phrase that you need to store somewhere, and then you need to transfer funds into the wallet, and because you will need these points to pay for the transaction fee, which we call like something like gas, like a gas station gas. And then sometimes you need to do some signing when you interact with certain protocol, etc. So it can be very, very complicated, and can also be very dangerous if your accounts get hacked, etc. So there are like concepts like account abstraction, which helps with the user experience and also account security. And then there's also a something called intent-centric protocols and infras. So intent essentially is like a user-centric protocols and infras. It's like, if you know about the intent, then the developers of the product do the heavy lifting, and users just get to know the product, use the product regardless of your Web3 knowledge, regardless, smart accounts, etc. You just go with it. So you don't really need much education. So that's something that personally I'm very excited about. And then entertainment is a big part of people's lives. So, and it has an easier time to achieve the network effect, etc. So there's things like social fi, like, there's something called token gated chats. For example, if I want to talk with, say, Ellie is a superstar, I want to talk with her. And then the token gated chat basically, chats basically means I purchase a token issued by her, and I get to talk with her on a one-on-one basis. So that's something also quite trendy and very understood by the general public. And then there's also like GameFi, GameFi, on-chain casino, like speculation, right? Sports betting, etc. So that also got a lot of people's involvement, either interested in this along these lines of things. Yeah. So I personally think like there's a lot of things you can work in the crypto space, and now it's actually kind of a slow market, like it's a kind of a bear market at the moment, but bear market is perfect for building and learning. So and there will be a lot of exciting things happening onwards. That we already see a lot of mega like a traditional institutions trying to file ETFs, and if ETFs really get approved, a lot of institutional money will enter the space. So then it will be nice to join the ride. And then we also have Bitcoin halving happening soon. Halving basically means the reward of the miners will get slashed in half. So naturally, BTC's price will need to kind of catch up to help with that. And then we have RWAs, like we said, real world asset on chain. So basically, they will also bring a lot of new liquidity into the space. Regardless of this catalyst, if you want to run a good project, it's not just about how the market is doing. It's also about like what you know about the space and how you actually do the project. I know it's relatively early for you guys, but you know when you study the project, it can be something that you look into if they have these metrics. And you need to have a good idea, but also the technical expertise to ship the product. And then you also need to have like strong people aligning all the team members and people doing the marketing to provide the exposure of the project, and then very detail oriented so that like there's not many hacks or exploits for the project. Yeah, so basically I think like there's a lot of things you guys can look into. And the first step is, try to read as much as possible, as extensively as possible, and, ask questions. But rule number one is be safe and be careful with your personal safety and also asset safety. All right, I think that's so much for my sharing, and I hope it's helpful for you guys. Thank you so much.